Hello, my dear audience, my lovely audience, and welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Chow, your lovely host with G&E TV. For many times, we try to bring information which is quite necessary for you to understand that we, as a beautiful state of California, sometimes we have problems. We have problems as big as even kicking our business out of the state. Lots of business, they say, quote unquote, are regulated out. A lot of business are lawsuit out because they fail, they can't win, right? Why? Right? Because there is a culture talking about the California law versus the California business, which is the whole thing, whole conflict. 2 weeks ago, on a Friday, I was at a event put together by CALA, California Against Law Abuse, which is the cause that I support. I met with my new friend, Mr. Tom Menzel, and I cast help. Immediately, I came to him and said, Tom, come to me, come to the show, because what he says at the CALA event was so important that I extended my invitation verbally right away, follow with a letter invitation. All right, good. So my new friend Tom Menzel is a business owner, very big business, and yet bigger business doesn't mean he is not victimized. In his case, he is victimized a lot. At the event, he shared his story. So today, I invited him to come over to share his story with our audience. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you having me on your show today.
All right, so I would have to ask Mr. Tom Menzel to give us a little introduction about who you are, who your business is, what you do. Right, please, shall we?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Again, Jack, thank you for having me on your show. I consider it an honor.
Thank you.
Timely Industries is a company that started in 1971. Currently, we employ about 193 employees. We manufacture pre-finished steel door frames, and a lot of our door frames go in office buildings, hotels, motels, assisted living. You see them in a variety of settings.
I see. That's why just now when I was showing you around on my door frame, you say, probably that's my product.
Those happen to be Timely frames.
Yeah, okay,
we definitely
very good.
identified them.
Very good. Yeah, go ahead.
And we sell our product all throughout the United States and into Canada and Mexico. Timely, they've been around since 1971.
All right.
And primarily, it's like one big family there. We have approximately 193 employees. Out of the 193 employees, you have 52, which are immediate family members, and 26, which are extended family members.
I see.
So what we've tried to do is we've tried to have an atmosphere, even though we have 193 people, that's like a family type atmosphere. We've been flexible with our hours. We have people that want to come in at 4, 5, 6, 7. Some are younger kids that are going to school. Some are single moms who want to get their kids off to school, or they want to be home when their kids come home from school. We have husbands and wives. We have, family members, friends. They want to eat their lunch together. So we all elected a set time for everybody to have their lunch together.
Okay.
And the problem is as people were taking their lunch together, you took it later than 5 hours. Now keep in mind, the average employment age at Timely have been there 22 years. We have some employees that have been there as long as 36 years.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so what happens is they all want to eat their lunch together, and they've been eating their lunch together for years. Some people for 20, 25 years. Well, California has a law that you have to take your lunch within 5 hours. Because our employees weren't taking their lunch within 5 hours, we are under a lawsuit.
And that's your story?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Now, the lawsuit, it began because we had a employee that went on a workers' comp medical leave. Then they went to an attorney, and that attorney referred this person to another attorney. When they went to that attorney, their questions were, what time do you take your breaks? What time do you take your lunches? Do you have any kind of bonuses or incentives? And that's when we got a lawsuit, and that lawsuit happens to be a PAGA lawsuit, Private Attorney General Act. So the employee is disgruntled, they go to the attorney, and under the PAGA, Private Attorney General Act, this employee represents all the employees. So it becomes a class action lawsuit.
Class action.
Class action lawsuit. This class action lawsuit could cost the company millions and millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.
All right, I can see that.
To put it in an example, we have a small safety incentive that we give to our employees. This particular safety incentive was given out quarterly if nobody was injured on the job.
Incentive.
Just a way to say, hey, thank you for being safe.
All right,
This
thank you for being safe.
Right, this particular safety incentive was classified incorrectly according to the California labor law. Because it was classified incorrectly, what can end up happening is we might owe the employees $10,000 or $20,000, but we would owe penalties $500,000 worth of penalties.
Why? How come?
Because that's the way they stack the PAGA penalties. So you go there and you say, well, I didn't get my lunch within 5 hours. The safety incentive was classified incorrectly. Now your paycheck stub information is incorrect. And it just keeps adding and adding and adding. And this particular law, they can go back 4 years. So we have to look at this to take care of current employees and past employees. And we're looking at this potentially could cost us millions upon millions of dollars.
You know, Tom, you really surprised me. You really surprised me because this is a story that I've never heard. This is a story I could never thought as being reasonable.
Most people haven't heard of it. If I go to business owners and I talk to other businesses, vendors and customers, and I say, have you heard of PAGA? The answer is no.
PAGA, I've never heard of that.
Never heard of it. If the answer is yes, then they've been hit with this PAGA lawsuit.
Oh, no, the victim knows.
Right, only the victim knows.
If somebody hit me, I would know him.
Right.
Okay, my dear audience, my lovely audience, today we have to tell you some terrible stories. A story happened to my friend Tom Manzo, business owner, trying to do his job right, trying to be kind to his employees, trying to do everything he could to make people happy, is being hit and hit heavily. So let's hear his story. After this short break, we'll be right back, please. Hello, my dear friends, lovely audience. Welcome back to the show. Unfortunately, I got to say welcome back to the sad story of Tom Manzo, my new friend, a business owner. I can see already through his story, his set of mind, trying to do his thing right, trying to make it fair to employees, and trying to make everybody happy. Only get punished by being what is that, a PAGA law? I've never heard. Private Attorney
General Act.
General Act, all right, I don't know. Okay, and probably another day we're gonna invite an attorney to talk about the PAGA law, but let's talk the PAGA law consequences, right? So with me today, my friend Tom Manzo, a business owner, like I said, who tries to do things right, to be kind with people, yet getting hit. Now, with the suit now, with the lawsuit, you decide to fight or you want to capitulate?
Oh, we're fighting.
You're fighting.
There's no doubt about it. We're going to fight this lawsuit, and we're not going to give up until we see some changes.
How big a? Okay, now put it this way: if you do not fight, how big a chunk is going to taken away from you?
Well, let me give you two stats to begin with. First off, right now, as of today, there are over 6,000 PAGA lawsuits filed in the state of California.
Okay.
6,000. That's
6,000.
That's not counting how many there have been over the years. Okay. Now, the other thing that's important to keep in mind is the average settlement amount is $1.5 million
Per
case.
per case.
Per case.
Oh
Now
my
that
God.
1.5 million doesn't even include what the company would spend in attorney fees. So you're looking at probably about $2 million on average per case.
I see.
And what's really happening is the employees out of that 2 million are not getting that much. The state is not getting that much. It's the attorneys who are getting that much.
Of course. That's why they created that laws.
Right. And what they do is they use PAGA because they create penalties. And the PAGA penalties add up to be so much that a company like ours, they could say, well, you owe $30 million and let's try to settle it. We don't want to put you out of business, but what they're really doing is the attorneys are lining their pockets.
Without having to go too deep to the PAGA text or wording, let's find out from your story level. On the surface, your story, what you're telling, if I understand right, is that people are kind of a gregarious. By gregarious, I mean they need to hang each other. They want to stay together,
right?
Including lunchtime.
Correct.
Hey, Tom, let's go lunch, right? I have a box of tomato. You have a box of potato. Let's whatever's potato, right? Something like that kind of thing.
Correct. Yes.
So now, for that, if you are, you get off at 1 o'clock. I get off at 12:30. So I hold on to wait for you till 2 o'clock, till 1 o'clock. So I'm delayed. Am I right?
Yes.
Is this what happened?
Yes.
Okay. Who caused the delay? Themselves or you, the owner?
It's themselves.
Themselves.
Yeah. I would have let our employees, if if they wanted to take their lunch at 10 o'clock, if they wanted to take it at 9 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, it wouldn't have mattered to me because I want them to be comfortable, and I want to have the camaraderie. I want people to get to know each other.
Okay.
You know, a lot of friendships, a lot of things happen at work.
Why employer gets sued?
We got sued because we weren't giving those lunches at the correct time.
No. It is them who choose to have lunch at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever.
Correct. And
they want to do.
There are some gray areas in that. You know, there was a case that was involved. It was the Brinker case, and a lot of attorneys are bringing that up. You know, they ensure that you take your break in between lunch. You have to make sure that they have an uninterrupted lunch. But there's a little bit of a gray area on that 5-hour window. But a lot of times the attorneys just use this as a way to make their money.
My lovely audience, you can write to me to show me how you understand the case. I myself find that I have a little problem understanding the logic of the whole thing, right? It is the employee who choose to have lunch delayed.
Correct.
Right? And the employer only said, yes, you may choose, right? And what's wrong with that? And then somebody claims that this guy's lunch is delayed. What for? What will benefit California?
A lot of times what happens is most of the cases are they're disgruntled employees, and the disgruntled employees will go to an attorney. They'll say they're wrongfully terminated, or a lot of times the workers' compensation claim isn't going the direction that they would like it to go, and then the attorneys will start to prod them. They'll start to ask them questions. What about your breaks? What about your lunches? And the attorneys know the California labor law. The California labor law book is 1,039 pages. And they have laws in there that make it very, very difficult for employers to be flexible. Very difficult.
Okay.
So we're trying to do what's right. We're trying to be flexible, and we're being penalized for it. We're being penalized for it by a disgruntled employee and their greedy attorney.
All right. Good. What's your shield? I'm really worried about you going ahead to fight the war. So, what's your? You have anything to shield yourself?
There's nothing to shield you. There's
Oh
no
my
protection.
God.
There's no protection from insurance. There's general liability insurance. Does not cover any of this. So you're completely on your own.
That reminds me of one of my employees who resigned about 2 years ago, and going back saying that I deserve some kind of overtime. Right? As a matter of fact, we know, at least I know, how the overtime was accumulated or being accumulated. Normally 9 o'clock to clock in, this person shows like 10, right? By 10, she's tired because she had a rough night, right? And then at 12, she has a lunch to go. From lunch, she has a dog and a cat to take care of. Going back for dog and a cat. And coming back to work at 2:30, and feel sleepy, and doze off for an hour or two, something, and then all of a sudden it's 4 o'clock. So she had to work for overtime, late even after dark. She claimed that part to be compensated.
Right.
So it's the same thing.
Very similar.
It's the same thing.
Very similar.
Right? I can't say two bad words about this very person. I can't say two bad words about Churro Scramble, the employee. But the thing is that you got to be right. You got to make sure that you have a legit reason. Like reminds me of David Houston's case. Workers on their lunch break going out, there comes in a customer asking for where's the restroom. No, the worker or waiter or waitress turns around, say, hey, it's over there. Show me. Well, probably he or she would go a few steps to show him. That's it. Over the years put together, 30 seconds each time, by 365 days, by 10 years, and then you're paying overtime. Oh man, people are all crazy.
Well, it's a mess, and that would be considered an uninterrupted lunch. And that was the one thing that we had at Timely. Our lunches were never uninterrupted. But you have right now, you have cases with security guards. You know, if you have a security company that's watching your place, that security company can't take their lunch on the premises. They have to have an uninterrupted lunch, because what if somebody were to come in and say, hey, I would like to know what time your guys are open, what are your hours? Once that lunch becomes interrupted, then they've missed their meal period. Once they miss their meal period, that becomes a $100 fine per day the first day, $200 per day shortly after that.
It's getting terrible. It's getting way, way, way out of bound, my dear audience. I never thought this could happen. I thought the worst was David Houston's case. I thought the worst was the dog on the table case. I never thought about this thing. There's a lunch, uninterrupted lunch case. No, that's unfair. My dear audience, you want to be involved. This is California, all right? If California business, for example, Timely Frame, is kicked out of California, we're going to get door frames. Oh, you say, all right, somebody else will replace. And then that business is going to be kicked out of California sooner or later, because we're talking about the same laws.
Well, the other thing that a lot of people got to remember too is, over the years, we've employed, thousands of people and thousands of families, were brought up and raised and went through the Timely family. The other thing is all of our steel is domestically purchased. We purchased that in Pittsburgh, California.
That's the support of the economy.
All the suppliers, all the vendor base, all in California.
All right, my dear audiences, let's take a very short break. Let's find out when we come back. It's hurting Mr. Manzo himself. It is hurting the 193 other employees.
Correct.
And it's hurting California in a big time. Right? So stay with us. We'll be right back. my dear audience, my lovely audience, welcome back to the show. As a matter of fact, it's a good show. It's a very nice conversation. However, the story is too sad. It is not even a story that makes sense. Sometimes a bad story, even though so bad, it makes sense. It has a bad sense in it, and you still have you have to agree, oh, that is a good story, even though it's bad, because sense is there, right? But this story doesn't make sense. That's my biggest problem. It is them who decided to have lunch all together. They will rather wait each other, right? And it is them who are the one getting all the benefit for, even including the safety incentive. In other words, thank you for not hurting you, something like that.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for not hurting you for this last month.
Sure.
Something like that. And then end up suing a business owner like Tom. That's not fair.
Well, I mean, the issue is a lot of employees now, I don't believe, are aware of what they're getting into. And a lot of the attorneys are soliciting these type of lawsuits on Facebook. There's another business, there's a van that shows up, and they'll ask people, hey, contact us. Were you injured on the job? You know, what are your hours? What are your meal breaks? What are your meal periods? And I think many times some of the employees don't really realize what they're getting into.
Suppose if you, I mean, you were talking about it's going to hurting lots of families because each of the 190 employees are supporting their own families.
Correct.
There's 190 families, right?
Yes.
Of course. By the way, they might not know the exact legality about it. They don't even know. They are, like, say, in my case, the other day I mentioned about my check I received for 6 pennies, right? And they might get one of the 6 penny check, and yet they are one of it.
Correct.
They're one of it.
Yes.
So now you're talking about you're buying domestic steels, you're buying domestic equipment, making doors for domestic people, and some export. Right? So my question is that if this case fighting, suppose you win, suppose in the long run you win the case, right? And yet you pay $1.5 million for penalty or fine for whatever, and plus you pay another $1 million for the attorney fees and so on and so forth, $2.5 million. Okay, my question is, with the $2.5 million to a business of your size, what would you have done, please?
Oh, there's a lot we could do. I mean, there's room for expansion, there's room for automation, so we can bring in more business. I mean, we recently got approved by the Hilton properties. I mean, they have 1,800 hotels going up. We would love to do more business, you know, but capacity sometimes can be a problem. You know, with that kind of money, we could reinvest in the employees. You know, the employees could make more money. We could reinvest in the company. There's a lot we could do with that money. That would be much more, make our company
how
last
big a tax
much longer.
revenue you will bring up for the states,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, millions. I mean, you know, you think about what we pay, the company pays in taxes, the employers, you know, their share of what the employees' taxes are. You know, it's a tremendous, tremendous number.
And if you go ahead and lose the whole thing, right?
Correct.
The $2.5 million will go to the lawyer's pocket.
Correct.
Right? And the employees who do not even know what they're talking about might get nothing.
The majority of the money goes to the attorneys. And currently, right now, we're fighting this with the state of California. We decided to send them letters. We actually had over 100 employees wrote letters saying, hey, we think this is unfair. We like taking our lunch together. We don't feel the company's done anything wrong.
Let them speak up.
We have a voice. Again,
Yes.
we're a big family. So what we did is we sent all of this to the state, and we
I
disagreed with
I
it.
give you an offer. Bring employees, like say 10 each time, on here. I let them vote out. I give them Bible, and they want to swear to God
Yes.
that I chose to take a lunch like certain hours, whatever, on my own will. So they send a copy to court.
Right.
All right, we can do that.
Sure. And
So-
you know, and we don't know what the state's going to do right now. You know, they're investigating everything, and they're looking at, you know, what the difference in the safety incentive would cost. They're looking at what it's going to cost because they did not take their lunches within 5 hours. So there's no telling, you know, what's going to happen.
But the safety incentive and the delayed lunch are different issues, aren't they?
Different issues, but it gets piled together under PAGA penalties. What they do is they call stacking. So they look for as many different issues that you could have with your paycheck stub being wrong. It can be as little as the name of the company being wrong on a paycheck stub. And if that's incorrect, then that could be another penalty.
For example, a name spell wrong with a letter or something.
Correct.
Or a typo or something.
Absolutely. Cost another $500,000.
Okay, good. Well, that automatically gives people another reason to ask, right? Are you allowed with any correction time? Say, Mr. Manzo, we are giving you a warning letter to correct such and such within a certain period of time, or otherwise there are going to be some lawsuit or penalty or so on and so forth. Were you given that letter or that courtesy?
There's no, on meal periods, there's no correction time. The only thing
not even a courtesy?
Not even a courtesy. Not even a courtesy. And a lot of times it's the state that doesn't know about it because they've incorporated the Private Attorney General Act. So they let the attorneys go out and enforce their codes. So the state of California has decided to let the plaintiff attorneys enforce the labor laws. That's the real issue.
By logic, I'm having a hard time understanding it. Okay? If I have a kid who leaves the door open, I say, kid, go close the door. That's it. Right?
Right.
My kid said no. I said, I give you 2 minutes to close the door, or otherwise you get punished. It is reasonable, right?
Correct.
It's reasonable parents, reasonable kid, something like that. When I see the door open, I don't say anything. 2 minutes later, I punch him because he left the door open. Am I right? Am I giving the wrong example or good example?
Sounds like a wrong example.
Sound like what?
I wouldn't want to get punched.
No, I mean, of course. So they're punching you.
Right, yes.
No, they're punching you, right?
Yeah.
So I want to say fairly and evenly, you want to give everybody a chance, right?
Correct.
Even if you say, hey, there is an argument, what I do is not wrong. Or even if that, I give you time to prepare your argument. In other words, within like say 20, 30, 60, 80, 90 days, whatever, right? You either come up with a satisfying argument or you correct it. Otherwise, we hit you, something like that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not the case. There has been some of the typos, you have a chance to correct it once you get the notice. But what I'm trying to do also by fighting with the state, I'm trying to work with other politicians, I'm trying to work with other business owners and say, hey, this particular law needs a 90-day right to cure. Everybody should have a chance to say, you know what, let's correct it.
You're right. So allowing people to correct is basically not only legally right, but morally right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Suppose this guy or this person or this enterprises, this business is wrong. Morally, you have to be, well, fair. You have to give them time, right? Now, I really hate to get punished without even a warning, without even knowing what's wrong. So that's really a big
most
problem.
companies, most people don't know it's coming. You know, what happens is, again, the employee goes to the attorney draws up the paperwork, all of a sudden you get a letter, hey, you're being sued.
After all, it's really something that me and my audience will have to really consider. I would even recommend if you want a move around for a signature campaign, whatever, signature campaign.
Sure.
To support this movement, to stop, like the show says, stop job killing. This is a job killing.
Right.
Suppose you go out of California, Suppose Texas waving at you, hey Tom, come over. We'll never give you that kind of a problems.
Yeah, and California is the only one that has this PAGA law.
The PAGA law.
They're the only ones that have it. And there are a lot of other businesses that have actually left the state of California and moved somewhere else. And the issue is a lot of companies just don't want to say. They don't want to talk about it.
You know my problem?
They don't want any more problems from the state.
You know my problem? Every time I hear anybody say SoCal, I laugh. That sounds to me is not a Southern California. It is a SoCal to a point that Tom gets punished.
Right.
It is SoCal to an extent that somebody like Tom Menzo being punished. Right. That's unfair, right? All right, my dear audiences, today with me sharing his tragedy story, of course, his fight, which I wish he will win. I know he will win. Is my good friend Tom Menzo, business owner at the Timely Frame industry. Timely Frame, they do the finished steel door frames, right?
Yes.
And by the way, just now I showed him around to my office. He recognized my door frame. Oh, that probably is my product.
Yes.
All right, let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll keep finding how we can win this war. It's an uphill war, I know, but we want to win it. Stay with us, please. Hello, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. Unfortunately, today we have a very sad story, but discussion is profound. We want to find out from it by digging. We want to find out what's good for California, what's bad for California. We want to find out, in order not to kill jobs, what do we want to do? That's why we named the show that you can see on the screen, Stop Job Killing, right? Now, with me, my good friend Tom Menzo, president of Timely Industry, president of Timely Frame, making lots of door frames. Now he's being framed himself.
Absolutely, yes.
He's being framed himself.
Yeah, big time.
You're making lots of frames, right? And never thought about you yourself being framed.
Yeah, you never think about this. I think that's what a lot of people, a lot of businesses,
would be a lot better if you frame you, right? Anyway, so he's being lawsuit for the I don't know, the violation for PAGA laws. I never heard about PAGA laws, for which I have to consult my attorney friends another time. But basically, it was about employee lunch hours, because they want to move around to eat together at the same time. And then by the California quote-unquote law, they say you really have to eat 5 hours after breakfast or whatever. Otherwise, you die immediately, you fall off, something like that. Well, I don't know, but that's a violation to law. And this man is facing a lawsuit that's worse than $2.5 million. So from your story, I really want to get something clarified. Okay, now, if the law focuses on the point for a better California, not for somebody's better wallet, what would the law say? Suppose if you're a lawmaker.
Well, I just think they need to uncomplicate a lot of the labor laws. Again, the Labor Law Digest is 1,039 pages. And I believe it's very, very difficult for a human resources department to keep up with all the laws, all the changes. In the state of California, over 900 new laws are passed every year. So there's a large book to try to figure out, and new laws being piled on top of that. You know, how do employers actually know what's going on here? So I believe the only ones that are reading the Labor Law Digest are the attorneys. And the attorneys, the rich ones in Beverly Hills, are the ones that are going to all of these different companies.
Oh, there are hungry
and
ones.
Suing. They're hungry.
They're very hungry ones, yes. And they're looking for cases because they're dying for cases. That's why.
Yes. And you know, what we've done is we've really decided, we said, hey, what we want to do is we want to try to fight this. How are we going to fight it? We've been contacting politicians. We created our own website, www.pagascam.com. And the reason that I created this website, Jack, was because when I first found out about it, I didn't know what PAGA was. I had no idea. So I started to research. I Googled. I spent an hour a day, which turned into 2 hours a day and 3 hours a day. And I thought if anybody gets hit with a PAGA lawsuit, they would be able to go to this website and find out, hey, this is what it's all about. This is what's going on. I've had some companies send in and reach out to me about their lawsuits. It's just amazing how many companies are getting hit with these lawsuits. Things like drivers who are on the road making deliveries have to take their lunch within a period of 5 hours. If they don't, if it's not properly documented, then that becomes a PAGA penalty, PAGA violation. So it's anybody, it's all industries, not just manufacturing.
Okay. I heard you say the website name. I want you to say it again, please. www.pagascam.com.
Pagascam.com. Yep.
All right, very good. I believe my audience heard that. www.pagascam.com.
Right, because that's what it is. This is a scam.
It is a PAGA scam. It is a scam. It sounds so scam to me that this man is scammed. I also find myself in the dark of the whole concept. The concept, if the concept is that, okay, the bottom line is that there are good people, there are bad people, there are people in the middle, right? Okay, you don't have to do anything to the good. You don't have to do anything to the, okay, put it this way, confuses me. You don't have to do anything to good, right? You make sure the bad ones are punished. And then to the middle, you keep the law good enough to deter. To deter,
Correct.
Right? That's it.
Yes, I agree with you.
Right? Okay. And deter is, well, the majority of the function of the law functions. If you make a law to do nothing but punishment, well, I really doubt the culture. The culture is really going wrong. Have you thought about, from a culture point of view, about this legislation, please?
Well, I mean, the biggest issue you have, and if you were to take this lawsuit and what's going on in context, I read, and the Labor Workforce Development Agency is the one that's responsible for workers' comp, PAGA laws, OSHA, things like that. There was a person in San Francisco who was on a forklift, and there was an accident, and that person in San Francisco unfortunately passed away. So the penalty from OSHA to the company for the person that died was $100,000. So the penalty to Timely, because people didn't take their lunch on time, is $1.5 million. Does that make sense?
That's crazy.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's out of mind. Everybody's out of mind.
It's out of mind. And the problem is what they're doing, and a young lady from our vendor said it very, very well, is we're ruining the spirit of the employee.
Yes.
By telling the employee, you have to take your lunch at this particular time. You started at this time. You have to punch in and out now every time. It was trust. We worked on trust at Timely. You know, if somebody wanted to take their lunch and they ate it here, they didn't have to punch in and out. We didn't have to document. Everything has to be documented now. And a lot of people, they don't want us to take the lunches right now.
Again, it is a culture. It's the black culture that invades the society. All right. Now, for example, I'm an employee of yours. I would say I choose, okay? I delayed my hour of lunch. I like it.
You can't do that, Jack.
No, I want to do it.
Yeah, but you can't.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I wish I could do it.
Yeah. We would have to tell you
now.
Yeah, we'd have to tell you no.
I'm delaying it now. Okay, I like it. Okay, so I cannot commit suicide myself by law with your assistance. I still can commit suicide.
Right.
I don't care. I'm dead already. Who cares? Right? That's the logic. It's my own decision that I would sacrifice 1 hour. That's it. How about that?
But you can't.
I can't. Okay,
You can't.
anyway. I know you're so regulated.
We're
so,
over-regulated. And
you're so locked up.
Right. And when we had to change the hours, we have a lot of employees who are really angry because you got people that can't eat lunch together, who are husbands and wives, and who have been eating lunch together for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Now, because they start at different times,
They can't eat together. They
can't eat together. And they're all forced to punch in and out. Tom, why are you doing this? Why are you doing to this? It's not us. This is the state of California.
It's very confusing. I've never heard of it.
The state of California feels that they're protecting employees. They're not protecting the employees. They're protecting the attorneys. That's all they're protecting.
Yeah. That's why I say the black culture is invading California, is invading the society. It's munching us. It's munching us, right? So my dear audience, my lovely audience, is today with my good friend, Tom Menzo, we're sharing his sad stories. Yet I like him for the fact that he's a fighter. He is knight, brave enough to fight the war. It's not a one-man war. It has my support, right?
Thank you, Jack.
at least.
Thank you.
And I'm determined. I told Marianne, my good friend, for many years already, I said, normally a newsman in my position, I do not take a stand. But on issues like this, I can't afford not to, right? So I know that Anna, is there Anna you're watching behind camera? All right, I'm proud of your man, and I like you both. So we're over time anyway. So my dear audience, thank you very much. And to Tom, thank you.
Thank you
for
very
sharing.
much. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Thank you.